morning, my friends. Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship at Stony Brook. My name is Lorraine Stidd, and I am happy to be serving as your worship associate this morning with our visiting minister, the Reverend Ashley McFaul-Erwin. Welcome. It's nice to have you with us. Our Director of Religious Education is Deb Little, and unfortunately, Deb is not feeling well this morning, so we will be working with what she sent to us, but, oh, thanks, Dan. But just want to acknowledge that she's home, hopefully feeling better. I would like to offer a special welcome to any of you who are visiting us or here with us for the first time today. We are delighted to have you here with us, and we look forward to getting to know you. Please plan to stay following the service and join us as our guests for a coffee hour, where you'll find lots of friendly folks to answer any questions you may have about us. If you are joining us online today, there is a link available in the chat to join a small group after the service. Now let us enter into the sacred space of worship with the sounding of the morning bell. Please stay silent until the bell can no longer be heard.
Good morning. Friends, blessed are those who are restoring the world, birthing love in places degraded by the powerful. Blessed are those who are reimagining the world, dreaming of justice that transforms from the margins. Sacred potential is calling from the fringes. The liberating invitation beckons all of us. This labor of love is ours to live out with joy. Friends, let us worship with anticipation. May divinity be born anew. Friends, our opening worship is an original composition by Peter Winkler entitled Joy.
How beautiful. Thank you. I have asked Karen and Charlie Posey to light our chalice and our Advent candles this morning. As we light our chalice, let us listen to the words of the Sufi poet Hafiz. We have not come into this exquisite world to hold ourselves hostage from love or to confine our wondrous spirits, but to experience ever and ever more deeply our divine courage, freedom, and light. Today is the third Sunday of Advent, and we are lighting our first and second and third Advent candles today for joy.
Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Oh, thank you. Thank you both so much. Now I invite you to rise in body or spirit and join in singing our first hymn, number 29, Joyful, Joyful, We Adore Thee.
So like Lorraine mentioned, unfortunately, Deb Little is out sick this morning, but I want to give her a little wave because she said she would be joining us online. So everyone can wave to Deb. But Deb has shared her tale with us, so I'm going to tell it on Deb's behalf this morning. The music in this congregation is magical. We love to listen, we love to sing, and even harmonize. It's really quite extraordinary. Singing gives us joy. And singing gives us a special joy to resistance. Resistance to injustice and unfairness. Struggles for equity and love. But why? Well, you say, it makes me feel good. Exactly. But why? I want to answer that question by telling the story of a song of resistance. And at the end, Dan will play 3 verses in a joyous tempo. It is the Joy Candle Sunday. And we'll experience that joy together. This song is called "We Shall Overcome." The song has its roots in slavery, though we don't know the exact origin. Why did African enslaved people sing? They sang field hollers and work songs. They sang for recreation and prayer and worship. And their songs provided insight into religion and social conditions. More than that, however, is that their songs connected people who came from different tribes in Africa and had been forced together under slavery. Music was core to African societies, and the musical system they used was shared across tribes. Enslaved people sang to resist the brutality of slavery. Music was a core part of the Underground Railway. Drums, tambourines, songs. Harriet Tubman sang as she worked to free enslaved people. And because their music was central to their resistance, slaveholders tried to destroy African culture on this land. Historians believe that enslaved people sang this song as part of their strength and resistance. I'll be all right, I'll be all right, I'll be all right someday. Deep in my heart, I do not weep. I'll be all right someday. They didn't sing it to the melody we sing today, and they sang it faster than we usually do, but this does seem to be the beginning. After the Civil War, Southern black churches adopted this refrain, and in 1901, the black Methodist minister Charles Tindley, the son of an enslaved black man and a free black woman, wrote a version called "I'll Overcome Someday." And in 1945, just at the end of World War II, striking black women workers at a steel factory in South Carolina revised the song words slightly. They sang, "We will overcome and we will win our rights someday." These women were joined on the picket line, linking arms with black men and some white workers in their factory. Horton changed the words, and though the strikers sang, "We shall overcome." From here, the song really took off. Sylvia Horton, a black union organizer, took the song to a center for activists, where Pete Seeger and other activists learned it. They made a few changes to the tune, the tempo, and the words so that it would be easier to sing in large groups. And you know some of the rest. It became the anthem for the civil rights movement in this country. It was taught to young activists, and they used it on freedom rides and sit-ins and voter registration drives. John Baez led the huge crowd in singing the song at the 1963 March on Washington, and then it traveled overseas. These are not Deb's words, but in my home country, the Northern Irish struggle for freedom used the song in their marches. One organizer said, "We just copied the American Civil Rights Movement." Striking farm workers sang the song in Spanish during the grape boycotts of 1965. In 1966, Bobby Kennedy led a crowd of South Africans protesting apartheid in singing the song while standing on the top of a car. Czechs sang the song in English and in Czech as they led a peaceful overthrow of their communist government in 1989. Today, Buddhist nuns, resisting China's oppression of Tibet, sing the song and Tibetan youth sing it at the end of their organizing meetings. And some protesters at marches for Black Lives Matter sang the song. Now let's return to Deb's initial question. Why does singing, and especially singing in community, make us feel good? Why does it bring joy even when the songs are about resistance? Well, science says singing releases some feel-good chemicals in our brains like dopamine. We have studies showing that singing improves people's moods. But more than that, singing in community creates community. Music creates a physical link between singers. It creates social coherence and emotional connection, even between strangers. Singing together, it's some kind of like superpower for community, for resistance and for joy. So we're going to do that this morning. We're going to sing 3 verses of We Shall Overcome together and feel the joy. What shall we overcome? Perhaps you can choose your own social struggle, racism or transphobia or climate or war. Just sing. Dan will lead us and we shall overcome. Thank you, and thank you to Deb for sharing that meditation with us. So in the back cover of your hymnal, I'm told there's a children's benediction that we will sing as our children head out this morning.
Our spoken meditation this morning is the poem Don't Hesitate by Mary Oliver. Following the spoken meditation, we will observe 1 minute of silence, followed by meditation in song. And our song today will be number 123, Spirit of Life. If you suddenly and unexpectedly feel joy, don't hesitate. Give in to it. There are plenty of lives and whole towns destroyed or about to be. We are not wise and not very often kind, and much can never be redeemed. Still, life has some possibility left. Perhaps this is its way of fighting back, that sometimes something happens better than all the riches or power in the world. It could be anything, but very likely you notice it in the instant when love begins. Anyway, that's often the cause. Anyway, whatever it is, don't be afraid of its plenty. Joy is not made to be a crumb.
Friends, our second reading today comes from the Christian scriptures. This reading is found in the Gospel according to Luke. We're hearing from a second Mary this morning, two of my favorite Marys, Mary Oliver and Mary, the mother of Jesus. So this passage from Luke that is sometimes called the Magnificat, this is a song of prophecy, a freedom song that Mary sings after she finds out she is pregnant with Jesus. So let's hear these words from Luke chapter 1, verses 46 to 55. And Mary said, "My soul magnifies the Lord, and my spirit rejoices in God my Savior. For he has looked on me with favor on the lowliness of his servant. Surely from now on all generations will call me blessed. For the Mighty One has done great things for me, and holy is his name. His mercy is for those who fear him from generation to generation. He has shown strength with his arm and has scattered the proud in the thoughts of their hearts. He has brought down the powerful from their thrones and lifted up the lowly. He has filled the hungry with good things and sent the rich away empty. He has helped his servant Israel in remembrance of his mercy, according to the promise he made to our ancestors, to Abraham and to his descendants forever. So friends, firstly, I want to thank you and Pastor Madeline and your worship committee for inviting me to join you this morning. As Lorraine shared, I'm the Reverend Ashley McFaul-Erwin. I am the community outreach pastor at Setauket Presbyterian Church. And it's a joy to have met many of you, some only on Zoom, so it's really nice to see some of you in person throughout our work together in the community. My wife and I, Erica is here this morning. We moved to Long Island in July 2019 for me to come and serve at Setauket Presbyterian Church. We moved up here from Nashville, Tennessee, but my accent, well, it's a wee mix of both Nashville and my homeland of Northern Ireland. So just bear with me this morning. I'm not sure if any Long Island has joined the mix in the last couple of years, so you can tell me afterwards if that's happened. But I bring these pieces of myself to you this morning, both by way of introduction, but also to acknowledge that they inform how I approach our text this morning. I am a queer Christian Presbyterian pastor. I am a friend, a daughter, a sister, a wife, and a pet parent. That one's important. I am an immigrant, a holder of a green card, a holder of 2 passports, an Irish one and a British one. Actually, one needs renewed, so I need to add that to my to-do list. But I am all of these things and more. I come to this pulpit with my joys and with my sorrows. I come to share and I come to invite. And what a joy, no pun intended, well maybe a wee bit intended, it is to be with you on what is in the Christian tradition, the 3rd Sunday of Advent, the day we light the joy candle. The liturgical resource of Sanctified Art surveyed over 100 people from the ages of 2 to 80 years old, asking them the question, what brings you joy? So here are some of their responses. A clean kitchen, sand between my toes, being outside, my partner's laugh, when my parents remember to pick me up from school, the end of my to-do list, baby giggles, my cat, gardening, stargazing, bedtime books, a warm cup of coffee with friends. What are some things that bring you joy? This isn't rhetorical, so if some people want to shout out some things, what are some things that bring you joy? Music. Dance. Dogs.
Very nice conversation.
A nice conversation. Great. Good food. I'm there with you. What was that one? Chocolate. Nice, nice. I just got a good shipment of chocolate from home, so I'm very excited. What was the last one? Friendship. Yes. Music. Now, another piece of my identity that I haven't shared with you yet is that I am a massive Irish rugby fan. So much so I have the crest tattooed right here. To which my mother said, you can buy a jersey for that. So. But a quick rugby story for you this morning. In November 2016, my wife and I traveled from Nashville to Chicago to see Ireland play New Zealand at Soldier Field. I don't know if I have any other rugby fans here, but New Zealand are incredible when it comes to rugby. So in the over 100 years that Ireland and New Zealand had been playing each other, Ireland had never won. You can maybe see where this is going. So off we go from Chicago to Nashville. It was Erica's first in-person professional rugby experience. I am hyped, but I'm also telling her, look, there's no way Ireland are going to win. Oh ye me of little faith. So at halftime, where we are in a chilly Soldier Field, and the score is 25 to Ireland and 8 to New Zealand. So the texts are flying between me and my mom, who's watching on the TV back home. My mom and I are the only sports fans in my family. My dad and my brother couldn't care less. Could this really be happening? Well, friends, that final whistle blew, and the score was Ireland 40, New Zealand 29. I cried. I honestly did, and I turned to my wife and I said, I think this is the most joy I have ever experienced in my life. And to which she replied, what about when we got married? But thankfully we both laughed. Friends, joy comes in many different forms. Some moments are more serious than others, but honestly, as Mary Oliver tells us, if you suddenly and unexpectedly feel joy, do not hesitate. Give into it. When joy bubbles up, listen to it. It's telling you something about how your soul is speaking to you in that moment. What is it that's bringing joy to your life? And also, when you witness another's joy, give thanks for it. And let it bubble over into you too. In our reading from Luke's Gospel today, joy bubbles over. Mary is pregnant. The news and the way the story tells it has been given to her by an angel. And when she receives this news, she quickly makes her way to her cousin Elizabeth's house. Elizabeth is also in the midst of an unexpected pregnancy. But the text tells us that when Elizabeth heard Mary's voice, the child in her womb leapt for joy. The joy of Elizabeth and her child, that spills over into Mary. Mary opens her mouth. And in this moment, when, my goodness, she must have been feeling all kind of emotions. But she opens her mouth, and out pours a song of joy, of praise, of freedom, and of resistance. That's the song I just read for us. God has brought down the powerful from their thrones and lifted up the lowly. God has filled the hungry with good things and sent the rich away empty. Friends, some have appropriately referred to the Song of Mary as a freedom song, similar to the song of freedom and resistance we sang earlier. German pastor, theologian, and anti-Nazi dissident Dietrich Bonhoeffer wrote this about Mary's song. The Song of Mary is the oldest Advent hymn. It is at once the most passionate, the wildest, one might even say the most revolutionary Advent hymn ever sung. Friends, this is not the gentle, tender, dreamy Mary who we sometimes see in paintings. This song, it has none of the sweet, nostalgic, or even playful tones of some Christmas carols. Mary's song is a song of joy, sung out in the midst of Roman occupation. Mary's song is a song of joy that resists the power of empire. This young woman, pregnant, I'm sure scared, and even in her fear, she rejoices. Her song is one so full of resistance that many world leaders have banned it through the years from public reading or singing. The Reverend Sally Howard shares with us, the Magnificat was banned from being sung or read in India under British rule. And in the 1980s, it was banned in Guatemala. And in addition, during the dirty war in Argentina, the mothers of the Plaza de Mayo, the children who had all disappeared, they placed the Magnificat's words, Mary's words, on posters throughout the Capitol Plaza. And in response, the military outlawed the public display of Mary's song. And you know, there are more subtle ways of suppressing Mary's prophetic power. In my tradition, the Christian tradition, we have often portrayed Mary as compliant, sexless, and white. And friends, Mary was none of those things. We need to fix some of our nativity sets. Mary's life, like any of our lives, is not only filled with joy, but maybe because of her days of sorrow, her joy is even deeper. My spirit rejoices, she tells us. And yet there will come a day when Mary's heart also breaks. I often wonder if Mary thought of her joyful words of resistance as she watched her son carry his cross to the place of his death, as she watched that empire kill her son. But Mary stayed with them. She stayed with them to the very end. Could Mary have made it through the breaking of her heart without those moments of joy to sustain her along the way? Back to one of my heroes, Dietrich Bonhoeffer. He says, "The joy of God has gone through the poverty of the manger and the distress of the cross. Therefore it is invincible and irrefutable." Joy is not removed from suffering, my friends. And as much as there is a certain version of joy that is very legitimate that I experienced in Soldier Field in Chicago, that's not really the joy of Mary's song. And it's honestly not really the most joyous I've ever been. The Reverend Mandy Beale describes joy as the holy no to life-defying forces. Joy is the holy no to life-defying forces. The title of today's sermon is Joy as Resistance. Austin Channing Brown writes, "The poet Toy Derricate revolutioned black feminism with one line in a poem: joy is an act of resistance." And Austin Channing Brown continues, "With that one line, she gave black women an opportunity to rethink the work of racial justice. Finally, we were given permission to not just be mules for the work of racial justice, carrying a kicking and screaming country into a better future." She continues, "We were given a permission to also see our joy, pardon me, as giving the middle finger to white supremacy. White supremacy wants to kill our joy, friends, especially black joy. White supremacy wants to kill queer joy. White supremacy certainly does not want joy as resistance to lead the way." In her book, Pleasure Activism, Adrienne Marie Brown writes, "We have to make justice the most pleasurable experience humans can have." Friends, joy transforms us. Joy can heal us. Joy can heal our communities, and not some trite, fleeting happiness, but as a holy resistance to all that harms us, that harms our communities and our planet. Joy is sacred. Joy is beautiful. And joy will sustain us in the hard days. Friends, I have had many days of joy. I choose joy over and over again. I've had a fair share of hard days too. The reason I got on a plane and left my home country to come over here was because the church denomination that I grew up in would not allow a queer woman to be a Presbyterian pastor. So that calling felt strong enough that I came here to live that out. But those were hard days, to be shut out from the community that you grew up in and you loved. But you know, that rugby moment will live on as a good day. But another day will too. July 26th, 2015, the day that Erica and I celebrated our marriage in a packed-out church in Nashville, Tennessee. Honestly, our wedding felt like joy as resistance. resistance to the homophobic, life-stealing forces of the world that are alive and well here and certainly in Tennessee. But we gathered, a community gathered to love, to dance, to cry, to sing, and to eat at a crowded table. So friends, may joy bubble up in us. May joy bubble up in our communities and sustain us all the days of our lives. Amen.
Each Sunday, we share our plate offerings with an organization that does work in the world aligned with our principles. This is a spiritual practice for us. This month's Share the Plate organization is the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee, which is a nonprofit organization for advancing human rights by working with an international community of grassroots partners and advocates. The work of the UUSC began in 1939, helping refugees escape the Nazis. This legacy continues today, 80 years later, with work in crisis response, climate justice advocacy, and Central American migrant justice advocacy. More information about their many initiatives is available on their website at uusc.org. Please give generously to support this work. You may make your gifts on the plate or online. For those online, the link to donate is in the chat box. The offering will now be gratefully received. Board members, please come up.
Friends, please join me in the dedication of the offering. To the work of our faith, which is weaving a tapestry of love and action, we dedicate our lives, and these are offerings. Amen. I invite you to rise in body or spirit and join in singing our final hymn, number 348, Guide My Feet. Beloved, go in peace, go in love, and go always in the footsteps of the holy. Amen. And now we extinguish our chalice flame, for our worship has ended and our service begins.